every time I talk to a PT student who is either first year, second year, third year, they run down the list of things that is driving them crazy. Dealing with staff or faculty at their PT school that won't answer questions with anything other than because that's what you're supposed to know, or because that's the way it's going to be on the boards, or because that's what's expected. So it's I know it's frustrating, but it's also funny for me to hear this because you guys are in the exact same position that I was in when I was in PT school, and I would ask questions and people would look at me like I had four heads. So keep asking questions, and when they don't give you the right answer, keep asking questions until they give you the right answer. But understand they won't ever give you the right answer because they don't know the answer. So when you're asking somebody who was built by the broken model, supported by the broken model, works for the broken model, has never been outside of the broken model, they can only give you broken model answers. Okay. So, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with your classmates? So you should have an easier time dealing with your classmates because they haven't been stuck in it and they're not making money off of it. They're actually spending money to get screwed over by it. So ask your classmates what makes sense. So when they say, well, we're going to do this, and you know doing this is actually wrong, you should be doing the opposite of this. Just say, well, how does that, what made you come to that conclusion? What's driving your thinking here? What are the implications? Like, if we do it that way, what are we actually looking for? So what you'll figure out is what they're looking for, their goal has nothing to do with what the goal should be. Their goal is going to be, well, we need to get more passive range of motion, or we need to calm down symptoms. That doesn't mean jack squat. Any idiot can do that. You don't need to be in PT school to calm down symptoms and increase passive range of motion. Morons do that all day long. Okay. So once they start going down that road, say, well, why would we do that? Like, is that anything different than a personal trainer with only a high school diploma would do? Like, how are we applying what we learned in the first semester of PT school when we went through a whole semester of physiology? What are we applying from anatomy? How are we applying what we went over in biomechanics? Like, how does that fit into what we're trying to do here? Those are the questions you should be asking everybody. You're not going to get any answers from your faculty. You're just going to get pushback. But hopefully, if you're asking that of your classmates, they'll start to reflect and be like, yeah, why am I doing that? Okay, so there's your answer for that. So that's what we talked about on one call. Another call, can you use 180 in a skilled nursing facility? Can you use 180 in home health? Yes, all you're doing is applying science to those patients. So had a patient or a question from a student or a prospective student say, well, I work mostly with spinal cord stroke neuro patients. I said, fantastic. I work 100% with neuro patients every single day. That's what I've done for 20 years is work with neuro patients. My neuro patients just happen to have epicondylitis, plantar fasciitis, low back pain, tension headaches, patellofemoral syndrome. Those are all neurological problems. The root cause is neurological. So I'm dealing with neurological patients just like you are. The difference is if you've got somebody with a neurological deficit from a spinal cord injury, a severed spinal cord, a stroke, something like that, you're not going to get those things to come back. So the question was, can you use 180 to reverse those things? The primary deficit after an injury like that or a condition like that? No. Once that is gone, the communication is gone from the nervous system, we're not going to refacilitate anything. Okay. So what we need to do is figure out what can we work on, because as we know, with any kind of condition, once you take away one or two or three muscles from doing their job, one or two or three or four or five or six muscles are going to jump in and compensate. So the same thing happens with a spinal cord injury or a stroke patient. You have to go figure out what muscles are now working 2 to 3 times harder to compensate for the muscles that are never going to work again. And then you have to stay on top of those secondary and tertiary muscles that are becoming inhibited. So that's what you're treating to keep them at baseline as best you can. So with those patients, we see them twice a week for a couple of weeks, once a week for a couple of weeks, every other week, every other month, every fourth month, until we figure out, oh, we can only go 3 months before this starts to fall apart and you can't stay up with this with your home exercises. That's when you have to come back. That's where we have to do the hands-on facilitation. Then we can set you free for another 3 months. Okay, so there's the answer to that question.